Brethren, it has come to my attention, contrary to my stoic disposition, that I miss you.
And I miss you.
Deep dives take at least 4 weeks for me to research, to film, and to edit. And in that time, I developed such imposter syndrome that my channel is like the Atacama Desert, cold, lifeless, and barren. So I thought I'd pop in with some commentary. And let me know what you think about these shorter videos, because there is this 19-year-old woman.
Divorce isn't an option for me under any circumstance in my marriage.
Even if he cheated on you?
Yeah, I wouldn't leave him.
Who is running around like a headless chicken, causing havoc across the internet. And we need to talk about it. And so let me introduce you to Savanna Stone.
A lot of women will ask me, they're like, how did you become a stay-at-home wife at such a young age? I'm 19.
Women, it is much easier to trust God and to trust your husband than to be a control freak. A lot of my wisdom comes from how many books I read.
I mean, gay people don't contribute anything to society at all.
Consent doesn't exist in marriage.
So I personally don't think women should vote. And this is why I say all the time that I'm an anti-feminist, because modern feminism is poison.
And the patriarchy was just paternal protection.
Women specifically, it is so important that you stay attractive to your husband.
I had the businesses, I had the career, I know how to work.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
Here's my 9 to 5 as a full-time wife. It was time to go to all of my beauty appointments for the day.
Every time I say things like this, I get told that I'm tearing down other women. No. The reason that I post what I post is because I actually care about other women and their well-being.
Now, Savanna is the internet's latest trad wife. She's a part of a cycle I've noticed that happens every couple of years. Basically, a traditional Christian, God-fearing woman gets married, and she decides that because she's now secured a husband, she therefore has somehow imbued centuries-old wisdom about everything marriage.
When it comes to intimacy with your spouse, we are called, we have an obligation and a duty to not deprive our spouse and to come together often. And a lot of people hate that, but I'm like, we have a duty and an obligation to follow Christ, even if it doesn't make us happy all the time.
And because she's a traditional, God-fearing Christian woman, she's usually between the ages of 18 and 24. Her newfound wisdom must be spread far and wide. And what better medium than Instagram and TikTok?
Your husband does not need a nagging wife.
And because she's a Christian, she doesn't believe in humility or treating one's neighbor as you would have them treat you. Oh no. There is no doing unto others when the rage-bait economy offers you a wealth of modern advantages like money and ego. Two things that we know our good Lord cherishes above all else. Man, I really miss being a Christian. Savanna describes herself as a former liberal who, after the pandemic and witnessing the degeneracy of Black Lives Matter, found her Republican, homophobic, anti-feminist calling. She decided not to go to law school as she'd planned and instead married her boyfriend when she was 18 years old after they started dating when she was still in high school.
But the day that Noah and I met in person, we had maybe been like talking over Instagram for like a week, but then we decided to actually meet in person pretty quickly after that. The second that I saw that man, the Holy Spirit, or whatever you want to call it, just in my head was like, that's your husband.
Savanna was 17 and he was 20.
We both do not have college degrees.
Yes, I knew it before she said it. Interestingly, deciding to get married or not was all contingent on whether Savanna won her Miss Florida pageant. And because she was runner-up, a wedding had to be planned.
And I was competing in Miss Florida USA at the time, so he went to that pageant with me and I was kind of like, okay, whatever happens with this pageant, like if I were to win, obviously I can't get married. You can't get married as a title holder, or I guess you can't be married as a title holder. I don't know, but I just knew that that wasn't going to happen if I had won that title. And I ended up placing second runner-up in that pageant. And then that's when we started conspiring, like, okay, we want to move to this bigger city, we want to get married, here's the plan, like, here's the goal, how are we going to get there?
That is the most 18-year-old thing I have ever heard. I didn't win a beauty pageant, so I got married. For a traditional wife who absolutely loves to be at home serving her man, Savanna seems to have a lot of time on her hands. Time that she spends appearing on podcast after podcast after podcast after podcast.
What do you think about homosexuality?
It's a sin. It's
You
against
believe it's a
God.
sin?
It is a sin, like factually.
It is a sin.
It's not natural. I mean, gay people don't contribute anything to society at all. Like you can't create children. And it's actually, if they do decide to get married, quote unquote, like sign a contract, it's not a marriage either.
It's like the gays aren't responsible for the highest adoption rates in modern history, or that LGBTQ plus businesses contribute $2 trillion to the US economy every year. Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
You've been in this space much longer and you've been married longer. And so it was just really encouraging to hear that from you. And then when you invited me on your podcast, I was like, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I was so happy to find out that you were trad white. Thank you, Jesus, because I was like, this girl is so pretty.
I just love how trad wives have podcast businesses nowadays. It's like if Jesus decided to become a Roman soldier. There's just a cognitive dissonance there that I cannot overlook with a straight face. And to learn everything trad wife and submissive, you can join Housewife Savanna's Submissive Society for $19 a month. She currently has 120 members, which means that this anti-work, anti-feminist, anti-girl bossing trad wife is making a whooping $2,280 a month. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Now, Savanna arguably went viral after her trad provider husband allowed her to temporarily step out of the hearth and home and make it big on the Fresh and Fit and Whatever podcasts.
Number one, if she's a feminist.
We were informed on the Fresh and Fit podcast that one of Savanna's red flags for women is if a woman has ever been to Miami.
And if she's been to Miami, Dubai, or any other party city.
Yo!
That's why Myron wanted her to go last.
I wonder where the Fresh and Fit podcast is located. And Republican Jesus said, I will hold others to bizarre, impossible standards that I would never, under any circumstances, expect of myself and my followers. Praise be. And you know, it is so incredibly progressive of Savanna's trad husband to allow his submissive, cloistered wife into the den of whoring sinners that permeate these red pill spaces. It kind of makes you ponder whether trad is really even a thing in our digital modern age. On the Fresh and Fit podcast, Savanna would also say that another one of her red flags is if a woman is in her, quote, masculine energy and is a breadwinner.
And you know what? Every single one of you,
I have a condo and I have a car.
She says this a lot, actually. And I find this so interesting, considering she describes her mother as a woman who was always in her masculine energy and was a breadwinner. And yet, Savanna has a lot of grace for her mother. That's awesome.
I grew up, I would say I grew up in a different dynamic than I ever wanted for my marriage. Like, my mom was very much in her masculine and took care of everything. Like, she was the breadwinner, which is totally fine. But my dad was also working, so they were both working. And then she was also taking care of the household chores. So she did everything in the house, had really no support from my dad. And he was also not the head of the household. So I think that because she was in her masculine, it made my dad not be in his masculine. And then because my dad never stepped up to be in his masculine, she had to take on that role.
And yet, contrary to what she says about her masculine mom and her feminine dad, Savanna will use them as a quintessential example of a healthy Christian marriage.
It is your responsibility to stay attractive to your spouse. Just because you found the one doesn't mean it's time to let yourself go. Obviously, both of you are going to change as you age, but that doesn't mean to stop taking care of yourself. I'm really lucky to have a great example of this growing up. Both of my parents still go to the gym, they still eat healthy, they still take care of themselves, and they both look amazing.
Just to reiterate, this is a masculine woman with a feminine man, everyone. Interestingly enough, Savanna, a submissive trad wife, spends a lot of her time online defending her dominant man, which fascinates me because, again, this cognitive dissonance just hits me, slaps me across the face time and time again. Jesus turns the other cheek, but not Savanna.
The woman who started this whole rumor and who started making viral videos about my husband, which encouraged other people to go viral off of it, was the woman from the Whatever podcast. And because I shared my story about getting married at 18, she immediately called my husband a groomer, even though he's only 3 years older than me. I dare any of you raging lunatic leftists to come up to my face or my husband's face in public and say that to my face or his face. You can easily sit behind the screen, you can easily post your viral little videos, you can easily hide behind a screen and post comments, but what I know none of you would ever do is come up to our faces and say that, because you know exactly what would happen. I am not in the turning the cheek business, sorry, especially when you berate my husband when you try to attack a marriage.
What kind of submissive wife gets online to vehemently, aggressively, and antagonistically defend her man's honor? You guessed it, a modern one. This not turning the other cheek doesn't doesn't sound very feminine and biblical to me, but that doesn't matter because I'm just one of those lousy, indoctrinated, hateful feminists.
Feminism, 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 feminist, feminism, 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 feminism.
Feminists love to preach about women's choice.
Feminism has been one of the things that has made our society so sick. It's like probably the number one thing. It's, you know, it's caused LGBTQ, transgenderism. It's caused most of the, you know, the culturally sick things that we're dealing with.
Modern feminism is poison.
You know, I consider a good dose of feminism equivalent to Eve eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You take a bite from that apple, from that poison, and you're exposed to the world. You form opinions, and you don't go back to a place of ignorance, which, according to Savanna, she herself is a very good example of. She was exposed to liberalism and feminism, but decided of her own free will to choose God, republicanism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, the list goes on. Savanna believes that feminism went wrong at the point of conception.
So you'd agree that feminism has made women less happy across the board?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where do you believe it went wrong?
From the beginning, feminism was never a good thing.
She, like all rage-baiting trad wives, believes women shouldn't vote.
I mean, I personally don't think women should vote. We lost in 2020 because single women were voting.
People will say, you know, the first wave of feminism was great, like it gave women the right to vote and it gave women the right to work. I don't want to do any of that.
I don't think women should vote. I think we should repeal the 19th, and everyone doesn't like that. But you know, if you're a married man, you get 2 votes. I don't know.
I just love how a staple of Savanna's resentment with feminism is that feminists are supposedly trying to force a certain way of life on women like her, and yet she's willing to strip our right to vote away because she personally doesn't want to vote and she doesn't want the right to work. And Republican Jesus said, "I shall strip these women of their right to vote and work. Schools will close, hospitals will fold, the economy will collapse, and Savanna, my child, you will no longer be able to get your nails done." Praise be. Savanna hates feminists, even though, thanks to feminism, she as a woman was allowed to go to school and learn things like how to read and how to form opinions on her own. Thanks to feminism, she had the choice to get married or to go to law school. And because of feminism, she chose to marry her husband. And we'll get to him. He adds a good sprinkle of spice to this beige, rage-baiting grift. But one thing that him and Savanna most definitely do have is good hair. And in my attempt to make my hair healthy and my wigs silky smooth, I use Kitsch, the kind sponsor of today's video. Now, I was stunned that Kitsch wanted to work with me because I have been buying Kitsch accessories from my local drugstore for years. It was like having my personal Super Bowl saying, "We want you, kid." And as a recently single lass, it's nice to feel wanted. And if you've been here for a while, you'll know I have huge hair insecurities and never really know what to do with my hair or what's best for my hair. And that is where, a few months ago, Kitsch came in to save my shower routine with their rice water protein shampoo and conditioner bars. Full of protein and amino acids, rice water is vital to rejuvenating your hair, helping with growth and improving your hair's texture. And if you're looking for all of that and a hair duo free of sulfates, phthalates, parabens, and silicones, then these Kitsch solid shampoo and conditioner bars are a no-brainer. What I love about this duo is that because they're solid bars, you're reducing single-use plastic waste, which is so important for the environment and is personally a very important thing to me. This is what actually first got me onto Kitsch shampoo and conditioner, as well as seeing the results for both my natural hair and my wigs. Yes, brethren, my wigs are my children and they deserve only private school levels of hair care. These rice water bars contain protein and amino acids, which has strengthened my natural hair so much. And these have also proved a treat for my wigs, especially in preventing breakage and increasing shine. Rice water is fantastic at reducing friction between hair strands, minimizing overall damage by preventing tangles. This means my wigs last longer, my hair loss is kept to a minimum, and as you can tell, my wigs just have better volume and shine. Now, one of the absolute highlights with Kitsch is that you don't only get amazing, healthy hair products, but hair accessories. This shower caddy looks so at home in my shower. No soap scraps or scum are left on my surfaces, and it adds a little touch of the Pinterest aesthetic to my shower experience. Kitsch ships across the US and internationally to over 90 countries, so I have all of you covered. All you have to do is use my discount code down below or my QR code to get a whole 25% off your order that'll auto-apply at checkout. And Kitsch also provides subscription offers for an even lower discount, so you can customize your Kitsch journey to your heart's content. Thank you so much to Kitsch for sponsoring this video, and thank you everyone for supporting me by supporting the content. I appreciate it so much and hope you enjoy Kitsch as much as I do. Now, one thing that I've noticed about Savanna, which actually gives me hope for her, is that because her rage baiting beliefs are so extreme and ill thought out, she ends up having to defend conclusions that have no basis in any reality. Savanna works in a lot of logical fallacies. Her arguments sound convincing, she says them with conviction and self-assuredness. And yet, as we're about to see, it leads to her claiming to abide by standards that could cause Savanna and many of the women who listen to her great emotional, psychological, and physical harm. For instance, she claims that men are logical and women are emotional, which explains why women ought to defer all decision-making and authority to their husbands.
Yes, we make decisions together as a married couple because we are a team, but at the end of the day, he is the head of the household, and I'm going to follow him before I follow my own feelings, because women are controlled by their emotions and men are controlled by logic. So most of the time, actually 100% of the time, he's been right.
Now, according to Savanna, her husband has been right 100% of the time.
So most of the time, actually 100% of the time, he's been right.
And yet, on another podcast, she'll then say that her husband hasn't always made the best decisions, but she'd still, against her better judgment, follow him anyway.
I will say that beginning of our marriage, there were a couple decisions my husband made a mistake on, and I think that they're human. They're going to make mistakes.
What were the mistakes?
Off the top of my head, like one was financial, like we sold one of the cars and I don't know, in the end, like it actually ended up being okay, but at the time we were considering, but ultimately I gave the decision to him. That's like one I can think of off the top of my head, but the other one was probably smaller. But yeah, I would say that the goal is for them to learn from that mistake and then to grow from it.
Doing something that isn't in your best interest because of your moral absolutism isn't only stupid, it can be incredibly harmful. For instance, Savanna will say that divorce isn't an option for her because divorce is morally wrong, which therefore leads her down a logical fallacy where she then has to say that she'd stay with her husband even if he serially cheated on her.
Divorce isn't an option for me under any circumstance in my marriage.
Even if he cheated on you?
Yeah, I wouldn't leave him.
Damn, that's crazy.
You know, my husband wouldn't cheat on me.
I know you're a man, like you're a husband. If he cheated, you would tolerate it?
It would be extremely hard to get through. I think that would be probably the hardest thing I went through in my marriage, but I don't believe in ending a marriage.
What if it was reoccurring infidelity?
I mean, we'd have an issue there, but yeah, I wouldn't leave my husband.
Even if he did it multiple times?
Yeah, I wouldn't leave my husband.
There are many reasons for staying with somebody who cheats on you, and none of those reasons are a positive for anybody but the cheater. Staying with your husband because your moral absolutism tells you to, even if he cheats or abuses you, is incredibly harmful to preach to your audience. Now, one thing Savanna hates is when people use her age against her. She compares herself to Timothy in the Bible, implying that God has given her this gift and passion to give marriage advice as a just turned 20-year-old woman who has been married for no more than 2 years.
Timothy was believed to be in his late teens / early 20s when he was called to lead a church.
Wow.
And so the Bible literally warns believers, do not look down on people because they're young. But Timothy in the Bible, he led a church he might have been like 17, 18, 19, 20, kind of in the same age range I am. And he was like, well, God, am I qualified to lead this church? And God was like, yeah, you're qualified. I have given you the gifts and the skills to do this. And so the comments always at me are like, you're too young to give marriage advice. No one should trust you. That's what they try to discredit me with.
It's like when Andrew Tate compared himself to Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King. It's as if she watches Andrew Tate in her spare time.
We did homemade pizzas tonight, which was so fun. They turned out really good. I'll definitely post a homemade crust recipe soon. And then we ended the night with family cuddles.
Ah, of course. Are we at all surprised And like the world's most celebrated human trafficker, Savanna has found herself in a few controversies. Her first and biggest being her opinions on consent. And this can really show us why it is so important to think hard and long before you convince yourself that you are a protege of marriage advice. Before you convince yourself that you are Paul the Apostle's protege. So earlier this year, Savanna went super viral for a series of TikToks she made about her controversial takes on marriage and intimacy. According to Savanna, consent doesn't exist in marriage.
Number 2, consent doesn't exist in marriage. I know this is going to piss a lot of people off, but when you get married, your body belongs to your husband and your husband's body belongs to you. Two become one, body, mind, soul, and spirit.
What is one thing you've said publicly that still stands even after backlash?
Consent doesn't exist in marriage.
I used to think it went without saying, but it's 2025, so I'll say it loud and proud. This is why critical thinking is so important. This is why schooling, especially reading, writing, comprehension, and critique are so vital.
Thank God that we're defunding the Department of Education because kids and adults just keep getting dumber.
And suddenly this all makes a lot more sense. Because surely if I'm to give her the benefit of the doubt, if your body belongs to your husband and your husband's body belongs to you, if your body that belongs to him isn't in the mood for his body, which belongs to you, he ought to respect that in order to maintain the harmony of that argument, no? Well, according to Savanna, that is not what that means, actually. In fact, submitting to your husband is the least you can do.
Rule number 3 is we never deprive each other. And I will never understand why women complain about having sex with their husbands. Like, after everything this man does for me, puts this roof over my head, it's like the least you can do.
I love how, again, she objects to feminism imposing its beliefs and expectations onto her, but she's trying to impose her fundamentalist, anti-critical interpretation of biblical marriage onto the internet. For money and clout. Republican Jesus is quaking in ecstasy right now. Now, I can't take any of this seriously at all. The only woman who I would ever hear say something so ignorant and lacking in introspection are women who are privileged enough to have never been or violated, women who are privileged and sheltered enough to have never known or never cared about other women who have been assaulted or violated, or uncritical women who have been fortunate enough to go their lives with their autonomy respected by men. And by the way, Savanna has feminism to thank for that. And I am so glad that she's had that reality, has had that privilege which feminism has granted her. But it does tell me how young, how naive, how lacking in critical thinking skills, or how simply malicious she is in assuming that her privilege is a universal experience that we should base expectations of consent on. She defends herself by saying that a loving husband who has a biblical understanding of consent would never, ever harm his wife.
Everything I say is coming from a healthy biblical marriage where the husband is a loving husband and the wife is a submissive and respectful wife. And when I say the phrase, okay, when you get married, you give up your conjugal rights. It also says that in, I think, verse 3 or 4, the husband gives up his conjugal rights to the wife gives up her conjugal rights to the husband. That word pretty much means consent in today's day and age.
This whole biblical marriage defense is also so dewy-eyed. I can tell you from personal and impersonal experience that many men, Christian or otherwise, can do you harm while believing themselves to be good and healthy people. Relationships, marriage, and life are far more complicated and messier than Savanna's naive privilege will allow her to contemplate.
My body is my husband's, his body is mine.
Yes.
And so I don't deny him every other day just because I don't feel like it. And vice versa. And that was what I meant by that statement. And I made it very clear that if you don't believe in the Bible, you don't have to listen to anything I'm saying because it's not going to make sense to you. At all.
Firstly, why would you post about fundamentalist biblical marriage on TikTok and not expect to get major backlash? Secondly, biblical marriage may grant a man consent in some ancient theoretical fantasy of sanctified marriage, but consent in reality is far more complex than that. Let's dumb this down, since Savanna thinks that we're all getting dumber and dumber, okay? When I get onto an aeroplane, that is not me consenting to every and any possible eventuality of getting onto that plane. I don't consent to all of the unforeseen that may happen when I get onto that plane. I don't consent to antisocial behavior when I get onto that plane. I don't consent to the pilot being under the influence when I get onto that plane. I don't consent to snakes on that plane. And I sure as hell don't consent to on that plane. Consenting to biblical marriage does not and should never mean submitting to what Savanna is inadvertently implying.
Divorce isn't an option for me under any circumstance. I don't believe in ending a marriage. Yeah, I wouldn't leave my husband.
Thanks to feminism, many women from all faiths and backgrounds are being exposed to the fact that they are equal human beings, and I am elated. So since claiming that she'd never ever delete this controversial, horrendous TikTok,
And I refuse to take down any of my videos that get backlash because I said what I said and I said it, and I'm not going to take anything back.
Savanna deleted the TikTok. She has also made sure to do damage control by going onto podcasts, giving us some much needed context into her controversial opinion.
People take short form content and they take one thing you said and they completely run with it instead of being like, well, why did she say that? Like, let me go look at her other content. Let me go watch her long form content maybe. But they'll take one thing. It's just like with Andrew Tate or anybody else, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, anybody else who's controversial, they'll take one thing or one allegation and run with it instead of actually understanding why they said that thing.
I love how it's everybody else's fault that Savanna said that consent in marriage doesn't exist. We just run away with the malicious lies, you guys. We didn't actually listen to what she was saying. The wider conversation she was trying to start on a rage-baiting TikTok. It's like how her girl Candace Owens is now running around like a headless chicken because she's being sued for making an 8-part series claiming that Brigitte Macron is a man. But Candace is the victim, brethren. She is the victim of a malicious left-wing attempt to bully and defame her. I hate how in real time we are seeing the mortifying consequences of a culture that no longer values critical thinking and rewarding harmful stupidity with money and exposure. Get me out of this timeline, please. And this is what Savanna really represents to me. She really represents the devaluation of critical thinking that is becoming the easy way out of us doing better. The easy way out of us confronting a precarious, scary world. And I get it. Right now, there is a huge appeal in young women rejecting a lot of what modern life tells us to strive for because so much of what we're apparently working toward is just no longer guaranteed. Going to college no longer guarantees you a job on par with your education. Working hard in your career no longer guarantees you a promotion or job security, no longer guarantees you a pension or self-fulfillment. Even voting as a woman no longer guarantees that your rights to your own bodily autonomy are going to be protected. And this growing narrative of I'm just a girl, or I just want to stay at home and bake banana bread, or I just want a man to pay for my stress-free existence sounds great and self-protecting in theory. And I'm so sorry, but there is no price you can put on autonomy, on independence, or on self-dignity. A man cannot give you those things. A relationship can't give you those things. It can validate those things, but you are the source and will always be the source.
Isn't it so crazy that feminism does the exact opposite of empowering women? It is not giving you freedom, it is actually silencing you. It's funny how feminism actually just gave the worst type of men exactly what they wanted. I mean, having as much emotionless sex as possible, OnlyFans, running around half naked, killing their babies.
Also, Savanna, the new voice of empowered woman.
I don't believe in under any circumstance, including sexual assault cases, whatever it may be, because those are only 1%. So I think it should be completely illegal.
There is something so lacking in introspection and so anti-critical thinking in a woman who made the autonomous choice to be a tradwife influencer, who chose not to go to law school, who has the privilege of choosing not to work, being so ready to deny that opportunity of choice and dignity to others, and yet blaming feminism for denying people choice and dignity. I think it's quite clear that Savanna's logic is a minefield.
My best friend from out of town was visiting a couple weeks ago, and she met my entire friend group, and she came up to me and said, "It is so cool how all of your friends don't have college degrees, but they are wildly successful." And it is so true, because most of the time, people that don't go to college kind of have to fend for themselves. They have to think outside the box. They have to use their brain to make money in order to make a living, instead of just handing a degree to an employer.
It's so interesting to me that she equates being wildly successful with being educated, especially in this economy. Being wildly successful and being educated aren't at all equitable. Being a wildly successful fool is a historical phenomenon and will forever be one, as our current subject matter so confidently displays.
You'll also notice that people that didn't go to college and put a big emphasis on school are able to think for themselves. They don't believe everything that was taught to them in school. They don't believe every single history book they've read. They don't believe everything that the education system is telling them.
It's uncanny how she claims to think for herself, and yet all her views derive from an uncritical and literal reading of biblical scripture. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pointing out the logical fallacies. I feel like I'm going insane.
This is probably going to be a hot take, but I genuinely believe that it is so much harder to become a wife, to build a family, to serve, love, and nurture a husband than it is to be a businesswoman or a woman with a really successful career. Becoming a wife and stepping into the mindset and becoming the woman that I needed to be for my husband was 10 times harder than any business that I ever started, than jumping from being employed to being a full-time business owner. Becoming a wife was so much harder than any of that. I had a lot of inner work to do.
Now, I completely agree with Savanna, and I agree with her because I cannot imagine anything harder than being a 19-year-old who has had the full force of not just marital life thrust upon you, but the full force of traditional patriarchal marital life thrust upon you. I cannot imagine any career being harder than that. This woman, in a matter of a few months, transitioned from single to married, and based on what she says she is now responsible for, i.e. fulfilling her husband's sexual needs, whether she consents to it or not, yes. What she is doing is harder than being a girl-bossing modern businesswoman. And I cannot imagine what that does to one's brain and mental well-being, especially in the long term. She's responsible for running a whole household, obeying her husband, and did I say fulfilling his intimate needs, consensually or otherwise. And so yes, I agree wholeheartedly with Savanna. Being a traditional fundamentalist wife who is entirely dependent on your provider husband at the mere age of 19 is most definitely harder than being a self-sufficient woman with a career and at least some options. And I will go further. Being a rage-baiting influencer who has the feminazis tormenting your frontal and temporal lobes is definitely harder than anything independent women go through on a daily basis.
I just have to say, it is 3:30 p.m. on a Sunday. I'm still in my pajamas. I just made a fresh loaf of sourdough bread and I'm having another cup of coffee. I'm gonna do a Sunday reset and then cuddle on the couch with my husband. There is nothing better than being a wife.
It's as if you can't do these things while you're single or, I don't know, gay. This, brethren, is what you call the honeymoon phase. You have no stress. It's a slow Sunday where you can just eat, cuddle, and do nothing with your partner. And that is amazing for Savanna. This phase lasts as long as your partner and you put effort into your relationship, as long as everybody is feeling respected and cherished, as long as your needs are being met in the relationship and external stresses aren't undermining the strength of your relationship. I wish this for everyone, but I also wish for you not to be preached down to for having a job, for being stressed, and statistically having a partner who doesn't take on the emotional and household labor that you, as a woman, are expected to. Which leads us to another of Savanna's major controversies, her allegedly gay husband. So when Savanna appeared on the Whatever podcast, she got into a bit of a one-on-one tiff with a fellow creator and former American Idol contestant, Erica Perry. Now, Erica debuted on TikTok by starting a rumor that Savanna's husband is gay.
You guys, this is her manly, masculine husband that she preaches about because she believes that feminine men are toxic to society.
Now, this resulted in a lot of people speculating that Savanna must be in a lavender marriage, which is basically a marriage between two people of differing sexual orientations who marry out of convenience, whether it be financial convenience or a way to avoid stigma and discrimination from their religious communities and families.
Men, if you get off to any other woman other than your wife, you are committing adultery.
She said getting off to other women. If that woman is not your wife, it is adultery. But what if you get off to a man that's not your wife? Is that one of those little loopholes?
This little cookie here is making quite the stir on the TikTok lately. Her name is Savanna. She is giving marriage advice from what seems to be a lavender marriage.
Savanna being in a lavender marriage made a lot of sense to a lot of people because in their minds, the only way she could wholeheartedly claim that marital consent isn't necessary is if there isn't even anything to consent about in the first place. This rumor became a hot topic on TikTok, but the kettle would rarely overboil when Savanna appeared on Michael Knowles' YouTube channel alongside fellow lady conservative influencers to have a little casual discussion about such things as whether women should vote or have access to life-changing healthcare, as one does. Now, something that is a universal with these conservative, God-fearing influencer girlies is that they are fake as and they will do anything to garner the toxic male validation they need to advance their brand. And that means putting their values to one side, taking their masculine energy by the fallopian tubes, and attacking their fellow conservative influencer girlies into the dust, which, again, cognitive dissonance. Anyway, one of these girlies, Trump-adoring Emily Wilson, yeeted her feminine energy to the curb and said the unthinkable.
Savannah, are you a
Their
pick me?
accounts
Are you doing
appealing
pick
to
me
men.
stuff?
I'm married. I don't need to be picked. I've already been picked.
Yeah, but every single thing you say is literally appealing to men and usually hating on women as well, which is funny because I would think if I was in a happy marriage, I wouldn't even do this. Like, I would just go out and just be happy and do my thing. I think the advice you give to women is awful. I think it's at a detriment to them. And I don't think it comes from true happiness. And I think it really does come out of insecurity from being in, frankly, a lavender marriage, as everyone online can see.
I disagree. I think
Are
Savanna.
you that easily manipulated by TikTok rumors?
Savannah, like the God-fearing submissive Christian that she is, forgot all about her feminine energy and did the ultimate masculine move. She decided to defend her man.
What is it? Can you clear up for a millennial? What's a lavender marriage?
Man in 2 seconds.
Oh, a lavender marriage is when you
Why
like.
do you think I called you out for hating on you specifically?
Isn't a lavender marriage
Because you
usually like?
berated my husband online. You berated my husband for absolutely no reason.
No, I just looked at 2 seconds. I was like, oh, that's a gay man. That's why she's
what?
So
Now, Savannah's husband is Noah, and he's spicy. Sorry. Now, what I love about these rumors of Savannah's husband having a little bit of the mountain air throbbing through his veins is that it really does show how everything is on a spectrum. A continually moving individual spectrum. This man, I assume, is as straight as a cucumber. And that's the point. You can be a straight, fundamentalist, God-fearing provider man and still use toner. You can still take quirky selfies in the mirror doing a yoga girly tree pose. You can still have the James Charles posture locked in and be a straight guy. And I think it's so important to see that, especially with these charlatans, these heteronormative grifters, these just graduated from high school influencers cosplaying as trad homemakers. Because, like it or not, Savannah is a modern woman and her husband is a modern, seemingly metrosexual man. Oh, sorry, that's not mine. It must be his. All credit for inspiring that joke goes to this wonderful creator. Now, only a few days ago, the internet got their first PR exposure to Savannah's own Jack Twist. And this is what our dominant leader, provider, decision-making head of the household patriarch had to say about defending his wife's honor online.
It's just kind of not my focus, and I really don't feel the need to stand up to something that isn't a real threat, frankly. And I don't mean to like sound like over masculine or anything.
Oh, don't worry, boo.
But there's nothing. Until something affects our marriage physically or in like the real life or like in the present moment, then yes, I will act out and do what I need to do to defend and protect what we have together. But until then, like it's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my energy. I need to focus on building my business and where I'm going and the current business that I'm at and like focusing on investing into her and loving her instead of like being all distracted with all of this like noise that's just like complete like buffoonery and fake.
Our provider, everyone, letting his wife be the independent influencer girl boss that she is, and good on him, taking the back seat and letting her thrive, living her best bigoted life. I cannot wait to see what Savannah decides to try and go viral with next. I'm sure it's going to be something out of this world, like women shouldn't be allowed to leave the house after, I don't know, sunset in case the Cullens ditch their vegetarian diet. But in the meantime, don't listen to 19-year-olds. Ever. Thank you so much for watching, brethren. Let me know what you think, and I'll see all of you very, very soon in the next one. And Republican Jesus said, pick up thine phone and subscribe to Kidology.